so let's get started. So let's sit on the block. You can also use a pillow for this. You want to bring your sitting bones right at the edge of the block and then roll them forward so they're falling in the front of the block, and then you're crossing your legs quite comfortably in front of you. Then you're resting the hands wherever they're comfortable on the legs, higher up on the thigh or on the knees. And now we're gonna working on the core muscles, okay? So 3 areas: the Mula Bandha, the Udayana Bandha, Jalandhara Bandha. Bandha means sort of almost like a block, okay? So if you engage these 3 areas at all times, then the core muscle is engaged. You're keeping the core muscle engaged at all times. So for the lower part, you need to clench your bum hole and suck the belly in. That engages the 2 of them. So you're trying to bring the belly button towards the spine and clenching the bum hole, so you're feeling that pulling up sensation. And then open the chest, tuck the chin under. That engages the upper part of the spine. And you're just gonna stay here, familiarizing yourself with that pulling up sensation from the lower part of the pelvic area. And now close your eyes, and we're gonna start working on the breath by lengthening the breath on the inhale and on the exhale. So I'm just gonna give you a pace, and then try to maintain this pace for the rest of the class. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe through the nose only. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And maintain the breathing through the rest of the class. This will allow your vagus nerve to basically relax, and that engages the parasympathetic part of your nervous system. So that switches off your fight and flight one. And if you maintain this for an hour, it really has benefits throughout the whole of the body. Far more than just a stretching class, okay? Now open your eyes, interlace the fingers in front of you and look at your palms, stretching the arms in front of you. On the next inhale, push the hands away from you. On the exhale, you're bringing your hands up towards the ceiling. Now just keep an eye on what's happening on the lower abdomen as you're bringing your arms up towards the ceiling. So you're still sucking the belly in, keeping that spine nice and long. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, rolling the shoulders away from you, pushing the hands up towards the ceiling. On the next inhale, keep your left hand up towards the ceiling, right hand down towards the floor. Inhale, lengthen the left side. Exhale, lean towards your right, bending the right elbow, looking down towards your left armpit. Grounding down through the left sitting bone, you're really stretching that left side of the body. On the next inhale, come back to the center, left hand by the block, right hand up towards the ceiling. Inhale, lengthen the right side. Exhale, lean towards your left, looking down towards your right armpit. Now remember to pin me on the left bottom corner on the 3 dots so that you can see my image large on your screen. And then inhale, come back to the center. Right hand behind you, left hand over the right knee. Inhale, lengthen the spine, suck the belly in. Exhale, using your arms, you're twisting to your right. Chin parallel to the floor, and you're looking towards your right shoulder. Inhale into the count of 5. And exhale into the count of 5. And on the next inhale, come back to the center. On the exhale, left hand behind you, right hand over the left knee. Inhale, suck the belly in, lengthen the spine. Exhale, twist towards your left. Chin parallel to the floor, and you're looking towards your left shoulder. And come back to the center. Place your hands in front of your groin or in front of your feet, and then start walking your hands forward so that you're bending forward. And then don't overstretch at this point, we're just warming up. On the next inhale, start walking your hands towards the left leg. Once you've reached your limit, place your right hand on top of the left hand and you're trying to lean your torso onto your left leg. Feeling that stretch onto your right side and onto your right lower back. Inhale into the count of 5 and exhale into the count of 5. On the next inhale, start walking your hand towards the center, and on the exhale, you're walking them towards the right side. Once you've reached your limit, left hand on top of the right. Make sure that left knee is still going down towards the floor, and you're leaning your torso towards the right leg, feeling the stretch onto the left side of the hip, the left side and the lower part of the back. And inhale, come back to the center, and exhale, walk your hands back to the center. Get rid of the block, make sure it's somewhere you can reach it throughout the class, and come on your fours. Hands directly underneath the shoulders, they're shoulder width apart. You're coming on a tabletop, knees directly underneath the hips, hip width apart. On the next inhale, you're looking forward, curve the back towards the floor, push the bum out, relax the belly. On the exhale, you're curving the back towards the ceiling, pushing the bum towards your hands, looking down towards your knees. Inhale, look forward, curve the back towards the floor, push the bum out. Exhale, curve the back towards the ceiling, push the bum towards your knees, your hands, looking down towards your knees. And do it 2 more times, following your breath while I read to you the disclaimer. So when participating in any exercise or exercise program, there is the possibility of physical injury. If you voluntarily engage in this class, you agree that you do so at your own risk and assume all risk of injury to yourself. Be extra careful, because obviously not being in the same room, you can also do things the wrong way. If you're not sure, just stop what you're doing and look at what I'm doing. I'm constantly doing the moves, okay? On the next inhale, you're coming back into a neutral position, tuck your toes under, and on the exhale, you're pushing your bum up towards the ceiling, looking down towards your feet. And then we're gonna start walking on the spot. So on the inhale, you're bending the right knee, transferring the weight onto the left leg. On the exhale, you're bending the left knee, transferring the weight onto the right. You're doing it nice and slow, following your breath. Inhale into the count of 5, you're bending one leg. Exhale into the count of 5, you're bending the other leg. So you're starting to allow the fascia to stretch and the back of the legs to open up. And then on the next inhale, look towards your hands, and then bending the knees, you start to walk your feet towards your hands. Once you've reached the hands, keep your feet hip width apart, grab hold of the opposite elbow. Inhale, look forward, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold forward, let go of the head, let go of the torso. So you can keep your knees bent, resting also the torso on the thighs, protecting your lower back, nodding your head a couple of times, turning the head right and left. So you're trying to point the top of the head down towards the floor, letting go of the neck, and allowing the weight of the head to stretch a little bit the neck. And then you're bringing your body towards the right leg and towards the left. So we're also opening up the lower back now. If you're feeling okay, you can start stretching your legs. So you're lengthening the knees and lengthening the legs. And then on the next inhale, come back into the center, let go of the hands on the floor, bend the knees, tuck the chin to the chest, and on the exhale, you're coming up into a standing position, head last to come up. Come to the top of the mat. So if you have any injuries, basically you don't want to create any pain while you're doing these exercises. If there is any pain, you're just coming into a child pose. If at any point the pose is too much, you can come into a child pose like this, or you just come out of the pose and just wait a little bit until we go to the next pose, okay? So we're gonna do the mountain pose, which is basically the standing pose. We're engaging again the core muscles. So we're bringing the feet together, you're distributing the weight, so the weight is in the middle of the feet, so you're not leaning towards the toes, neither on the heels. Once you're there, you're pulling the kneecaps up, engaging the front of the thighs. Now we're re-engaging the lower pelvic floor by tilting the pelvis under. So you need to tilt the pelvis under until you're feeling that pulling sensation on the lower part of the pelvis. And then suck the belly in, open the chest, tuck the chin under, arms by your sides. With the fingers active and pointing down towards the floor. So the whole body is active. And obviously, you can use this to stand up. If you're standing a lot during your day, just try to use this to help yourself. Looking beyond your nose, bring your hands in front of your chest, close your eyes for a second. See how you are by just standing with your eyes closed. And also set an intention for today's class, that you're gonna do your best to focus your mind on the breath. So not only we're gonna do take care of the body, but we're also gonna try to train the mind so that it focuses on the breath all the time, so it stops wandering. Open your eyes. We're gonna do 3 sun salutations. The first we're gonna do together at a basic level, and then if you know already your level, the other 2 you can do it at your own pace. On the next inhale, bring your hands up towards the ceiling, look up at the hands, suck the belly in. Exhale, fold forward at the hips, placing your hands on the shin, the ankle or the mat. On the next inhale, press through the hands, look forward, lengthen the spine. Exhale, bend the knees, hands on the mat, step the right leg out into a lunge, left leg to meet it into a high plank. We're setting the plank. You're on your tiptoes and you're pushing the heels away from you. You're bringing the shoulders above the wrists, clenching the glutes, sucking the belly in, pulling the kneecaps up, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Exhale, knees to the floor. Leading with the chest, you're bringing your chest down to the floor, rubbing the elbows by your side, top of the feet on the mat. Hands underneath your shoulders. On the next inhale, lift the chest off the floor, roll the shoulders away from you, look forward. Exhale, tuck your toes under, come into your hands and knees. Bring the seat towards your heels and you're coming up into a downward dog. Stepping your feet slightly forward, trying to aim the heels down onto the floor. Keeping your feet hip-width apart. Big toes are slightly tucked in. You're aiming to bring the heels down towards the floor while you're keeping the legs as straight as you can. It's not as easy as said. So what you want to do, if you're struggling with that, you're coming up with your tiptoes, bending the knees, pushing the bum up, and then try to lower the heels down. Inhaling to the count of 5, exhaling to the count of 5. If you want to walk on the spot, you can walk on the spot by allowing the legs to stretch a little bit more. But the next 2, you're trying to stay in one position, allowing the body to stretch. On the next inhale, you're looking towards your hands, bend the knees, start walking your feet towards your hands. Once you've reached the hands, keep your feet together, and exhale, you're folding forward, letting go of the head. On the next inhale, you're coming up a little bit so that you're engaging the core. Bring your hands up towards the ceiling and exhale, hands by your sides. If you found that that was enough, just keep up the same pace for the next 2. I'm gonna go up 1 notch. Inhale, bring your hands up towards the ceiling. Exhale, you're folding forward. Inhale, press through the hands, look forward. Exhale, hands on the mat, add a step or jump into a high plank. On the next inhale, set the plank as we did on the first one. And exhale, add the knees to the floor, or you're hovering halfway down into half a plank. On the next inhale, come on your tiptoes, push the body through the hands. You're straightening the arms into an up dog, roll the shoulders away from you, look forward. Exhale, tuck your toes under, and you're coming up into a downward dog. Start lengthening the breath. Position the feet and the legs as you did on the previous pose. Now we're concentrating on the upper part of the torso. Hands as wide as the shoulders, wrists in line with the top of the mat. Now you're squeezing the shoulder blades together, roll the shoulders away from the ears and keeping the hands where they are. You're pushing the hands away from you. So you're trying to bring the torso towards the thighs. And now you're tilting your pelvis under, so you're not overarching your lower back. Inhaling to the count of 5, exhaling to the count of 5. So you should feel a pulling on your lower part of the abdomen. You're looking down towards your feet, or you're pointing the top of the head down towards the floor. On the next inhale, you're looking towards your hands. If you want, you can lift your right leg off the floor, bring the right knee towards the chest and try to land the foot in between the hands. And then on the next exhale, you're bringing the left foot to meet the right in the front, and exhale, you're folding forward. Inhale, engage the core, bring your hands up towards the ceiling, and exhale, hands by your sides. Last one. Inhale, bring your hands up towards the ceiling. Exhale, you're folding forward. Inhale, press through the hands, look forward. Exhale, hands on the mat, add a step or jump into a plank. Inhale, set the plank. Exhale, add a low plank or knees to the floor. Inhale, up dog, and exhale, down dog. Now really lengthen the breath. Inhaling to the count of 5 and exhaling to the count of 5. Put all the elements together of this posture and allow the body to just stretch the back of the legs. Inhaling to the count of 5, exhaling to the count of 5. And then on the next inhale, you're looking towards your hands. This time, if you want, you can lift your left leg off the floor, knee to chest, bringing the foot in between your hands, and then the right leg to meet it. Exhale, you're folding forward. Inhale, engage the core, bring your hands up towards the ceiling, and exhale, hands by your sides. Okay, everybody okay? So we're gonna do a couple of poses here. So we're gonna do make sure you can grab hold of the block. Just put it in the front for the time being. And you're starting at the top of the mat with the big toes touching, hands on the hips. On the next inhale, you're bringing your right foot out, 2/3 of the mat, with the toes pointing towards the top right corner of the mat. On the next inhale, pull the kneecaps up so that the legs are straight. Bring your arms parallel to the floor. We're going to do triangle pose. We're leaning forward and we're placing the hands either on the shin or on the inside of the ankle. Bringing the right hand up towards the ceiling. Now you're pointing the hand up towards the ceiling so the hand doesn't come back, okay? It's pointing up, and now you're doing just a squeezing of the right shoulder towards the spine. So make sure that right arm doesn't come back. It's still pointing up towards the ceiling. The movement comes from the shoulder. On the next inhale, pull the kneecaps up so that the legs are straight. Lengthen the left side of the body. And on the exhale, you're turning the torso towards your right, either looking straight ahead or towards the right hand. Inhaling to the count of 5. Exhaling to the count of 5. And then on the next inhale, looking down towards the floor. Exhale, you're bringing your hands parallel to the floor. Inhale, hands on the hips, and exhale, you're stepping to the front of the mat. We're going to do on the other side, stepping with your left foot 2/3 of the mat. You can also use a block on the inside of the foot if you're struggling with sort of keeping the balance, okay? Also make sure that you're not bending the legs. Most of the time people want to overstretch and then the front leg is bent, okay? You need to make sure that they're always straight. On the next inhale, pull the kneecaps up, engage the front of the thighs, bring your arms parallel to the floor. Exhale, you're leaning towards the front leg. hand on the shin or on the inside of the ankle, left hand up towards the ceiling with the palms facing away from you. And now keep your left hand pointing up towards the ceiling so it doesn't come backward, and you're making this movement of rolling the left shoulder back. So you should feel a pull on the lower corner of the shoulder, okay, of the shoulder blade. And then on the next inhale, pull the kneecaps up, make sure the legs are straight, lengthen the right side of the rib cage, and on the exhale, you're turning the torso towards your left, looking either straight ahead or towards your left hand. Inhale into the count of 5, and exhale into the count of 5. And then on the next inhale, look down towards the floor. Exhale, you're bringing your hands parallel to the floor. Inhale, hands on the hips, and exhale, you step into the front of the mat. Okay, we're going to do the half moon, which is a balancing pose. So you need either a book or the block on your left hand, okay? Start somewhere in the middle of your mat, and you're stepping back with your right foot. You're on the tiptoes of the right foot, just a little bit back. So that basically what you want is that you start to bend the front leg, and you're starting to lean forward, lifting that right leg off the floor. Once you're lifting the right leg off the floor, you're leaning forward and you're landing the block just underneath the shoulder. Make sure that there is a space between the block and the left foot, lifting that right leg off the floor until it's parallel to the floor. If you're finding this already challenging, just stay here. The next step is that you're turning that right foot out to the side so that you're stacking the right hip on top of the left. And then you can bring your right hand up towards the ceiling, and from looking down towards the floor, you start looking towards the right side and towards the right hand. Oops, I've lost balance. And then when you're ready, start bringing your gaze down towards the floor, right hand on the hip. Start bending the standing leg as you're bringing the right leg down towards the floor. Give yourself a little bit of a shake. And we're going to do it on the other side. So block on the right hand, coming feet hip width apart, left hand on the hip, and you're stepping with the left foot out. You're on the tiptoes of the left foot. Now you're bending the right leg as you're leaning forward, and then lifting your left leg off the floor. You're landing the block so that is underneath the shoulder as you're leaning forward. Lifting that left leg off the floor, keeping that left glute engaged. And then if you want, you can go further by bringing the left toes out. Left hand up towards the ceiling, and you can start looking towards your left hand. Inhale into the count of 5, exhale into the count of 5. And then on the next inhale, looking down towards the floor, left hand on the hip. Start bending the right leg as you're bringing the left leg down towards the floor, giving yourself a little bit of a shake. Okay, so we don't need the block for the next couple of moves, so just put it on the side, but still be able to reach it if you need it, okay? Start from the top of the mat, and you're taking a wide step out to the sides. So that basically you've got about 3 feet of distance between the feet alongside the mat. And you've got the toes pointing to a side, okay? So they're pointing towards the edges of the mat. So the heels are a little bit more in than the toes. And then what we're going to do, we're going to bring your hands in front of your chest, and we're going to squat down. So we're going to open the knees following the toes, okay? So the knees are not opening to the front, they are opening to the sides. So it's a good hip opener, trying to open the sides, and you still want to see the big toes as you're squatting down. And then bring the thumbs and the index finger to touch, and you're bringing the arms out to the side. Suck the belly in, tilt your pelvis under, open the chest, and we're gonna take 3 breaths here. Inhaling to the count of 5, exhaling to the count of 5. Inhaling to the count of 5, exhaling to the count of 5. Last one, squat down a little bit more, inhaling to the count of 5, and exhaling to the count of 5. And then straighten the legs, place your hands on the hips. And now what we're gonna try to do, we're gonna try and bring the body just in front on top of your left foot, okay? So we're bending the left knee, and we're trying to sit in between the feet with the hands either side of the toes. If you cannot do that, just bring your hands on top of the knee and stay here, okay? Otherwise, bring your hands to the mat, and you can bring the toes of the right foot up towards the ceiling. Chest forward, you're stretching that right leg. You can either keep your left heel up or bring it down towards the floor. And then start walking your hands towards the right leg, and we're gonna swap over. So we're gonna squat onto the right leg, and we can bring the left toes up towards the ceiling. Chest forward. And then very gently start bringing your hands into the center. Once you're in the center, bend the knees and come all the way up, straightening the legs. And now we're just going to push the heels out so that this time the edges of the feet are in line with the edges of the mat, okay? Now put the weight into the edges of the feet so that you can lift the inside of your arches up and the big toes are slightly tucked in. Bring your hands to your hips, and then you want to have the thumbs at the back and the fingers on the sides of your waist. Squeeze the elbows together, keeping the elbows as they are. On the inhale, you're opening the chest, suck the belly in, and on the exhale, you're folding forward, letting go of the head, trying to point the elbows up towards the ceilings. Keep on squeezing the elbows together, inhaling to the count of 5, and exhaling to the count of 5. And then on the next inhale, just come all the way up, and then bring the heels towards the center, toes towards the center, heels towards the center, and when you're ready, you step into the front of the mat. Okay, we're gonna do a balancing pose. So we're gonna start with balancing yourself onto your left leg, tiptoes of the right. What helps me when I'm doing the balancing poses is that I imagine half of my leg stuck in mud, okay? And then you're clenching that left glute, so you're really stabilizing the hips. Once you're ready, you've got 2 options here. Version 1, this is the easier version. You're lifting the right leg off the floor, the knees is bent, and you're placing your right hand in front of the knee, trying to bring the knee up as much as you can, and that leg into the hip socket, okay? And you're staying here. If you want to go further with your index and middle finger, you grab hold of the big toes. Now make sure you're not leaning forward, you're standing up straight, and then you're straightening the right leg. And then when you're ready, either bring the knee out to the sides or the leg out to the sides. And if you're feeling particularly balanced, never the case for me, then start looking towards your left shoulder. And then when you're ready, start bringing the leg back to the center. Now hands on the hips, the leg is still off the floor. Straighten the right leg and then release it. Give yourself a little bit of a shake. Now we're gonna do it on the right side. So balance yourself onto the right leg, tiptoes of the left, clench that right glute, imagine the lower leg sunk in mud, hands on the hips, lift the left leg off the floor, and then add a knee in front of the knee, a hand in front of the knee. Ooh, see, not good today with balance. And then you can sink that sort of leg inside the hip. Otherwise you can grab hold of the big toe, stand up straight and straighten in the left leg. Just try to keep your spine upright and still try to have nice and long breaths. And then on the next inhale you can bring your leg out to the side. And if you want, you can start looking towards the right shoulder. And then when you're ready, bring the knee back to the center, hands on the hips, straighten the left leg and release it. Give yourself a bit of a shake. Okay, so now we're gonna do a sequence when we're lying onto the sides, okay? So make sure you can see me because there's quite a few exercises that we're going to do. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna lie yourself onto the left side. And you want to bring the back of the armpit flat onto the mat, okay? So there's no gap into the mat. And then either you're supporting your head with the elbow, or you can rest your head down onto the left shoulder. Whatever works for you. I find that supporting the head helps me a little bit more. So you're having the bottom leg, which is the left leg, onto the floor, slightly forward, okay? And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a bicycle with the right leg. So brace yourself with your right hand forward, so you're giving yourself a bit of a balance. On the next inhale, bring your right knee towards the chest, straighten the right leg, push it back. So we're gonna do a bicycle, okay? So bring the knee towards the chest, straighten the leg, push it back, knee towards the chest, straighten the leg, push it back. Now we're gonna do the reverse. So push the knee towards the chest, stretch the back leg backward and bring it forward, knee to chest, straighten the leg out to the back, bringing it forward, knee to chest, and bringing it forward, okay? And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna open the right knee up towards the ceiling with the toes pointing towards the inside of the left leg. You're sliding the toes until it reaches the inside of the knee. The knee is pointing up towards the ceiling. Now you're bringing that right knee to touch the floor. You're bringing it in front, touching the floor. And then you're bringing it back up, sliding the leg down. Okay, so the toes touching the inside of your ankle, knee towards the ceiling, sliding that toes up until it touches the inside of your left knee. Knee touches the floor, knees come back to the ceiling, and you're sliding the leg back down. We're gonna do it one more time. Sliding the toes up on the inside of the knee, the leg, bring the knee towards the floor, bring the knee back to the ceiling, and you're sliding the legs back down. And now you're bringing that knee towards the chest. Try to grab hold of the toe with the right hand, and you're straightening the leg up towards the ceiling. If you cannot straighten the leg, just grab hold of the back of the knee and try to straighten the leg as much as you can. One more breath here. Inhale into the count of 5. Exhale into the count of 5. So this time the toes are pointing towards the body, and now you're turning the toes towards the front. Turning the toes towards the center, turning the toes towards the front and towards the center. Now you're hugging the knee towards the chest and release it. Okay? We're gonna do it on the opposite side. So come up and lie onto your right side. Make sure the back of the armpit is resting onto the mat and there's no gap, okay? You're supporting your head. The right leg, which is the bottom one, is slightly forward. And we're gonna do first the bicycle. So brace yourself with your left hand on the front for balance, and then hug the left knee towards the chest, straighten the left leg in front, push it back. Bring the knee to the chest, straighten the leg forward, and bring it back. One more. Knee to chest, straighten the left leg, and kick it back. Knee to chest, we're gonna do the reverse. Kick it back, bring it forward. Knee to chest, kick it back, bring the leg forward straight, knee to chest, straighten the leg backward, and then bring it forward, bring the knee to the chest, and then release it. Now, you're opening the leg out to the side, so you're pointing the toes towards the inside of the leg, of the right leg. You're sliding that toes until it touches the inside of the knee, and then you're bringing that left knee to touch the floor in front of you, and then you're bringing it to come back to face the ceiling, and you're sliding the toes back so you're straightening the leg. And now try to bring that knee up towards the ceiling, point it down onto the floor, point it back up to the ceiling, slide it down. One more. Bring it up, bring it to touch the floor, back up to the ceiling, and slide it down. Okay, so now we're just gonna lie down onto the floor. So you're rolling yourself onto your back, hugging the knees to the chest. We're gonna stay here for a second or two. We worked a lot on the hips, so you can bring the soles of the feet together, bringing the knees out to the sides. So we're stretching the different parts of the hips, and then bringing the knees back together. Hands in front of the knees, start rocking back and forward until you're coming up into a seated position onto the floor. And then we're straightening the legs so that we're sitting on the staff pose. If you need a block to sit upright, just use the block underneath your bum. Release the flesh away from your buttocks. Point the toes up towards the ceiling. You're trying to keep your legs as straight as you can. Pointing the fingers towards the toes, hands either side of the bum. You're rolling the elbows away from you, gently bending them at the elbow so that you're not bringing the shoulders up towards the ears, and you're looking just beyond your toes, engaging the core muscles. So now we're going to engage the core muscles again as we did at the beginning. So you're clenching the bum hole, sucking the belly in, opening the chest, tucking the chin under. Inhaling to the count of 5 and exhaling to the count of 5. Reconnect with the breath, and just notice how often you were able to just connect with the breath and focus in your mind there, and how often your mind just wandered off. Or if you were pretty much in the moment, concentrating on the pose, concentrating on the breath. On the next inhale, bring your hands up towards the ceiling, suck the belly in. We're aiming to fold forward at the hips, so keep the core muscles engaged as you're folding forward until you feel like your lower abdominals are starting to go. Then rest the hands wherever they're comfortable on the legs. Tucking your chin under so your neck is nice and long. On the next inhale, suck the belly in, engage the core, and using your hands, you're pulling your torso towards the thighs, readjusting the neck all the time. And if you want, you can also press the back of the knees down onto the floor, keeping the legs as straight as you can. Inhaling to the count of 5 and exhaling to the count of 5. On the next inhale, come all the way up. We're gonna do the upward plank, okay? So you're placing your hands about a handbreadth away from your bum, with the fingers pointing towards the toes. two levels here. The first level, which is the easier one, you're placing your feet onto the floor and you're coming into a reverse tabletop, okay? Looking down towards your knees. Otherwise, you're keeping your legs straight, pointing the toes away from you, pushing the hips up, and you can look either down towards the floor or looking up towards the ceiling. But push the bum up, squeeze the glutes, push the hips up towards the ceiling. 3, 2, and 1. Come all the way down. And we're going to need the block for the next one. So grab hold of the block with your right hand. I'm turning into an angle so you can see me better. Roll yourself onto the left side and place the block onto your right bum cheek only, okay? So only onto the right bum cheek. Now you're rolling onto the right side and you're hugging the knee to the chest, grabbing hold of the top of the foot, and you're bringing the knees together and the foot onto the side of the bum. So you're not sitting on the foot is beside it. The toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. So the knees are together, so the left leg shouldn't be too out. Two options here. If you want to stretch the right leg, the back of the right leg, hands either side of the right leg, and you're folding forward. If you want to stretch the front of your left thigh, then you're walking your hands away from you. So you can feel the stretch on the front of the thigh, and you can also rest on your forearms if you want to. Just do whatever version you want to do and lengthen the breath. We're going to stay 3 breaths here. In and into the count of 5. Exhaling to the count of 5. And then very gently, if you were leaning forward, start walking your hands back towards the center. Otherwise, if you were on your forearm, just press down onto the forearm with your palms, coming back up. To come out safely of this pose, you're leaning onto your right side, hug the left knee towards the chest, release the leg down in front of you, and grab hold of the block. You're placing it onto your left hand, the block, so we're gonna now do it the opposite side. Roll onto your right bum cheek, place the block onto the left bum, underneath the left bum cheek. Roll onto your left, right knee towards the chest, top of the hand on top of the foot, and you're bringing the knees together and the heel on the side of the bum. The left leg is straight with the toes pointing up towards the ceiling, and I'll show you. So you're leaning backward if you want to stretch the front of the right leg, or you're folding forward if you want to stretch the back of the right leg. In and into the count of 5. And exhale into the count of 5. And then very gently, just come out of the pose. Once you're sitting up, roll onto your left side, hug the right knee towards the chest, release the right leg in front of you, roll onto your right so you get rid of the block. And we're going to do one last pose before we're doing the back bend. Left leg is straight. You're hugging the right knee towards the chest, and you're placing the sole of the foot on the inside of the left thigh. So the right knee is out to the side, and the right foot is resting on the inside of the left thigh. Now point the toes up towards the ceiling of the left leg, hands either side of the left leg. Now what you're going to do on the next inhale, you're sucking the belly in, opening the chest, turning slightly towards the left leg, and on the exhale you're folding forward until you're reaching your point. Make sure the left leg is still engaged. And now what I want you to do when you've reached here, your point, which is different for everybody, I want you to really let go of the right knee down onto the floor sometimes we tend to tense it up so that basically we don't get the stretch on the right hip. As you're releasing that right knee, you're really feeling the stretch onto the right hip. And also you should feel a little stretch onto the sides and onto the lower part of your right side of the back. Inhale into the count of 5. And exhale into the count of 5. And then on the next inhale, start walking your hands back to the center. Hug the right knee towards the chest and release it. We're going to do it on the other side. Hug the left knee towards the chest. Open the knee out to the side so that you can place the foot on the inside of the right thigh, and the right leg is engaged by pointing the toes up towards the ceiling. Hands either side of the right leg. On the next inhale, suck the belly in, open the chest, turn slightly towards the right as you're folding forward. So you're almost aiming to bring the center of your chest into the center of the leg. And that gives you a little bit of a twist, so you're feeling that stretch onto the sides of the left hip. And now, whenever you've reached your point, breaking point, I'm joking, you're now releasing the left knee down towards the floor, allowing the left hip to stretch and open up. Inhale into the count of 5 and exhale into the count of 5. So just notice where you're holding the tension and direct the breath into that area so that you're really allowing it to open up and relax. And then very gently start bringing the hands back to the center of the body. Hug the left knee towards the chest and release it. Come into the middle of the mat. So you're coming so that you're basically sitting in the middle of the mat. You're bending the legs and you're placing your hands in front of the knees, rolling yourself onto your back, hugging the knees to the chest, tucking your chin under so your neck is nice and long. We're gonna do a bridge. So first we're gonna do a normal bridge, and then I'll show you a variation. So you're bringing your feet as close as you can in front of your bum, hip width apart. You should be able to touch some part of the feet, so with your hands, okay? And then press the hands down onto the floor. On the next inhale, first you're tilting your pelvis under, and then you're pushing the hips up towards the ceiling, squeezing the bum, keeping the knees pointing away from you so they don't come out to the sides. If you want, you can interlace the fingers behind your back, shuffling to the top of your shoulders, pushing your hips up, squeezing the glutes, looking down onto your belly, tucking your chin under so your neck is nice and long. And then very gently release the hands, release the arms, and release the back down onto the floor. Hug the knees to the chest. Now you can either repeat what you've just done, you can do a full wheel only if you've done it before in an actual physical class, or you can do the variation where you're lifting one leg up, okay? So I can show you now, and then you can do it if you want to. You're bringing your feet down, you're pushing the hips up, shuffling to the top of your mat, and then you can lift one leg up, making sure you're not collapsing with the hips, and then you can release it and release the other leg. Okay? Up to you what you want to do. Just go ahead and do the next ones. I can also show you the full wheel. You invert the hands by your ears, pointing the elbows up towards the ceiling. Bring the top of your head onto the mat, and then straighten the arms. And to come out of the pose, you're tucking the chin to the chest, bend the elbows, bringing the back of the head down onto the floor, and then hug the knees to the chest. So everybody, just come out of the pose. And then hug your knees towards your chest and start rotating the knees clockwise. And then anti-clockwise, so you're sort of massaging your back in different directions. And then when you're ready, start rocking back and forward until you're coming up into a seated position. And we're gonna do an inversion, okay? So you can only do an inversion if you're not on your menstrual cycle and if you're not suffering of any high blood pressure or high blood pressure of the eyes, okay? If you're on your menstrual cycle or if you've got any problem with high blood pressure, you just bring your legs against the wall and you just allow the blood to come down into the heart, okay? There's two versions of shoulder stand, so you can do it either on the floor or against the wall. I'll show you the against the wall first. You're bringing your bum as close as you can onto the floor. Make sure the bum touches the wall, and then you're putting your feet on the wall, press against them so you can lift up, shuffle to the top of your shoulders, support your lower back, and then one leg up, and then the other if you want to, and then you're bringing your feet back down, okay? If you want to do the shoulder stand, you can do it into the mat by rolling yourself onto the floor and bringing your legs over your head. If they touch the floor, shuffle to the top of your shoulders. Otherwise, support your lower back all the time, and then you can bring one leg up at a time towards the ceiling, walking your hands up so your arms upright as you can, hips towards you, legs away from you, so the weight is on the arms, not on the neck. You're breathing here 10 times, and then you're bringing your legs over your head. If they don't touch the floor, keep on supporting your lower back, bringing your legs over your head. Otherwise, if they touch the floor, you can interlace the fingers behind your back, legs straight to start with, and then at the knees touching the forehead or around the ears. And you can then release yourself back down onto the floor. So make sure you're doing any of this. If you've done a headstand before and you want to do it, I can also show you how to do it. You bring your mat as close as you can onto the wall but not touching the wall. Make a triangle. So you're interlacing the fingers and you're bringing your elbows underneath the shoulders, squeezing the elbows together so that they don't come out to the side. And if you've never done it before and you're not sure about doing it in the middle of the floor, there is one easy way of coming up, okay? So you're bringing the top of the head onto the floor, coming into an inverted downward dog, and then you're just choosing to bring one leg up and try to touch the wall, okay? With the other leg, you're doing the counterweight, so you're not tilting forward, okay? And then you can straighten one leg, and then if you feel confident, you can sort of see if you can come up with both legs pointing up towards the ceiling. Otherwise, you're just playing with trying to keep that leg off the wall. When you're done, you can bring the legs down and you're coming into a child pose with the arms alongside the body. Now, if you're doing the shoulder stand, start coming out of the shoulder stand, and we're going to do the counter pose, which is the fish pose. If you're doing the headstand, just stay there and then come down and stay at least 1 minute into child pose. The counter pose of the fish pose is the fish pose. So you're on your elbows, slide the elbows away from the shoulders, pointing the toes away from you, puff the chest, and release the top of the head down onto the floor. You only need to do a couple of breaths here to come out of the pose. Tuck the chin to the chest and then release yourself down onto the floor. If you were doing the headstand, start coming into Shavasana. So everybody now just come into Shavasana, which is the relaxation pose. So you're lying down onto the floor with the feet as wide as the mat, and you're flopping your feet to the side. Tilt your pelvis under, so as much as your lower back is touching the floor. Roll the shoulders away from you, palms facing up towards the ceiling, tucking the chin under, so as much as your neck is nice and long. So you can use a pillow underneath your head and or a pillow underneath your knees, or you can bend the knees so that the knees are pointing up towards the ceiling, feet on the floor, as wide as the mat, and then you're supporting the knees with each other. From this point onward, try not to move too much, so try to calm yourself, try to become as comfortable as you can. And we're just gonna try and do a little bit of meditation and relaxation, okay? So we're starting with the breath. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna try to get your attention onto the breath by concentrating on the rib cage, okay? So as you're breathing in, try to expand the rib cage and feel the rib cage lifting as you're breathing in. You can also place briefly your hands on either side of the rib cage, and as you're breathing in, just feel it expanding and lifting up. And then as you're breathing out, you can feel the whole of the rib cage relaxing. So we're gonna do it a couple of times, breathing in, expanding the rib cage and lifting it up. Breathing out, relaxing the rib cage. Focus your attention more and more onto the breath. We're now inhaling to the count of 5, expanding the rib cage and lifting it up. Exhaling to the count of 5, relaxing the rib cage, relaxing the abdomen. Okay, and now we're gonna start relaxing the feet. So bring your attention to the feet. Relax all the muscles on your feet. Relax your ankles. Relax the muscles of your calves. Relax your shins. Allow your knees to soften and relax. Relax the thighs, starting from the front, going all the way to the back of the thighs. And relax your hip joint. And from the hips, you're going all the way across the glutes into the center of the glute, relaxing the glutes and the hips. And then you're coming under and over your reproductive organs, relaxing the pelvic floor. And now relax your abdomen, your lower abdomen, so the area between the pelvis and the belly button. And soften and relax your upper abdomen from the belly button to the rib cage, coming up all the way to the rib cage, into your chests, your breasts, the chest bone and the collarbones. Relaxing the top of the shoulders. And now going down the back, either side of the spine, starting from the top of your shoulders, relaxing the space in between the shoulder blades and relaxing the shoulder blades. Relaxing the middle of the back, relaxing the lower back, coming into the waist and going up the sides of the body from the waist all the way up into the armpits, relaxing the sides of the body. And now you're relaxing the shoulder joint from the armpit, the front of the shoulder, the top of the shoulder, and the back of the shoulder. Relax your upper arms, relax your elbows, relax your forearms, the wrists, and the hand. And now relax the back of the neck, relax the front of the neck, relax your chin, your lower jaw, relax your lips, your mouth, the upper lip, relaxing your nose. From the nose, you're going across the cheeks all the way to the ears, and then relax your eye sockets. Soften and relax the muscles of your temples and the forehead, and relaxing the scalp and the whole of your head. relaxing more and more as you're breathing in and out. And now very gently take a deep breath in through your nose and sigh out through your mouth. Take a deep breath in through your nose, and as you sigh out through your mouth, start wiggling your toes. And take a deep breath in through your nose, and as you sigh out through the mouth, start wiggling your fingers. Very gently, you can bring your arms over your head, legs together, tense up the body first and then relax it, giving yourself one long last stretch. And then very gently hug the knees to the chest and either rock yourself back and forward until you're coming up into a cross-legged position onto the mat, or you can roll yourself onto the right side and helping yourself up with your left arm into a cross-legged position onto the mat. And now bring your hands in front of your chest, close your eyes. Just make a mental note of how often you were able to just focus your mind on the posture and on the breath, and how often your mind wandered off. Don't judge it, but just resolve that every time you practice yoga, you're not just training your body, but you're also training your mind. Thank you for practicing today. Namaste. And if you've got any questions, please unmute